In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the preferences in Fireworks. And to get yourself started, just open up a blank Fireworks document. Now, the preferences are basically how the application operates, and you can actually change them to your way of doing things. Now, there's a slight difference in where the preferences are located between the Mac and the PC. If you're using a PC, your preferences are found at the bottom of the Edit menu. If you're on a Mac, you come to Fireworks, Preferences. And when you select the Preferences panel opens. You can see there are all kinds of preferences in here. These are the general preferences. These will apply to the entire document. You can show the start page. This is the Welcome to Fireworks thing. That if you don't want it, then that's fine. You don't need to show it. You can deselect that. You can set the number of undo steps. Interpolation, I really don't want to get into that because that's a lesson all in itself. But basically, just choose the one that works best for you. And if you're unsure as to what you're doing here, just go with the default. You can add preview icons to your saving when you save files, and you can even save per page thumbnails inside the PNG. You can also set the colors for strokes, fills, zooms, and highlights. So when you're selecting stuff or drawing stuff, those are the colors that will be there. Now, the edit preferences are pretty self-explanatory. You get a number of options. There are things you can do with the pen tool. You can even show solid points if you're using it. You can pick distance. The pick distance is basically how far away you can be to select a point. So this one here, the distance is set to 5. And 9 scale option, we'll get into that in a later lesson. Just leave this alone. Guides and grids, the colors of the guides, colors of the grids. These are all the colors that will show up. You can set the distance for snapping. You can even have a default size of 36 by 36 for a grid if you wish. Type, you just set the default leading, baseline shift. You can show the font names in English if that's your preferred language. Go ahead. You can choose the font size preview, which is a medium size preview. Now, these previews are what you see actually when you choose a font in the properties panel and it just shows up. And it'll also show you the number of recent fonts. And this is at the top of the font menu. And when fonts are missing, you can set the font that will be there. So if you're using or one of the members in your work group is using a font, weird stuff, and it's throughout, you don't have that font, it's going to tell you it can't find the font, and if you want to substitute it, you can use Myriad Pro or any other font that's in your collection. Photoshop import and open, you can bring Photoshop documents in, and this you can set how Photoshop documents are handled when they're imported into Fireworks. I just kind of leave this alone. Launch and edit preferences, you can set how things are handled when you're editing from an external application. So you can always use the source PNG file, or when you're optimizing documents, you can use the source PNG file. You can leave this alone. There's no big deal. And plugins, you can choose which plugins you want to have in there. You can use the textures. You can even have extra patterns. And these are all the preferences that you can use. And these just work in the background, and basically you set up the application to your way of working. And they only apply to your copy of Fireworks. So if you hand off a file to another user, their preferences will be in play, not yours.